Hello, everyone. How are you today? Thank you for joining our session on how to make the most of the Instagram. We have got a lot of tips and tricks planned for you guys and to share with you all. So let's jump right into it. I'll start with introductions. My name is Caitlin Belardes. I am Kate Bella in the app and just about every other social media platform out there. And I am Poshmark's social media manager. And I'm joined by two amazing women who are absolutely killing it on Instagram. We have Coco Cohen. You may know her as Color Resale. She's a Portland-based reseller who exudes positivity and is really phenomenal at building community on Instagram. And then we also have Hannah Morton, aka Handpicked by Han. She's based in Minneapolis. She's a part-time reseller, but also runs a killer consignment business and takes you along for the ride every day on her fun, engaging Instagram stories. All right, let's get right into it, ladies. Okay, so we're gonna start at the very beginning for those of us joining today who may be curious about using Instagram to market their Poshmark businesses, but haven't quite made the leap just yet. So the question they probably all have is like, where do I start? So Hannah, can you tell us a little bit about when you got started on Instagram for using Instagram for your business, and between feed posts, IGTVs, stories, where did you start?
Yeah, so I just looked at my Instagram today, scrolled all the way to the bottom to see when was my first post, and it was October 10th, 2018, so almost 2 years next week. And I didn't start an Instagram until probably a year and a half after starting selling seriously on Poshmark. So it took me, I guess, a bit to finally take the leap, decide to show my face on social media and use that as a tool for me to drive people to my Poshmark closet to shop. But I just remember when I started out feeling super uncomfortable showing my own face. And so I had a lot of package pictures. So if you scroll all the way down, if you go to my social media, Handpicked by Han, scroll all the way down, you see a lot of posh package pics. And then my face once in a while, because I don't know, I'd feel weird asking my friends. I would sometimes ask my husband, but then I'd like pose really awkward. And he's like, "You're being awkward." And I'm like, "I know, I don't know what to do." So yeah, so starting out, I would just mostly be posting things on my feed, not really engaging much on stories or other Instagram tools, but that's changed, but that's where I started out.
Great. And then Coco, same question for you. When did you get started? How'd you start?
Yeah, so I started my Instagram on the first day that I started my Poshmark account, and it was more as an educational tool because I didn't know anything about reselling, anything about Poshmark, and I saw that they had a thriving community. So I joined more to learn and not so much to brand or do anything beneficial I didn't even know about branding when I started. So it was just to learn, and then I used posts, and I really used hashtags because that's how I found other Poshmark users. Like I remember Meet the Posher was like one of the first hashtags that I loved because it got me into the community in like a more like a deep, meaningful way. I got to learn about people's backstories, how they were using it, and it really inspired me to think about how I was using it more thoughtfully.
Yes, I love that. Yes, Meet the Posher on Instagram is just a really great place to connect with other poshers. If anyone in the audience hasn't created one of those posts already, introduce yourself, tell your story, and it's a really great way to connect. I love that. And then Hannah, I know you mentioned a little bit about like showing your face or like being brave enough to get out there. And then I know both of you gals are very active. You made yourself the faces of your businesses, and I think that's a really smart move. So Hannah, I know you've mentioned before, like showing your face lets people get familiar with you. Can you expand on that and explain why you think that works?
Yeah, I think that the reselling community is really large. There's a lot of people who are resellers and that have started going on Instagram to promote their business, or like Coco to learn or whatever else. And so to really differentiate your brand, to show your face, because nobody else is you. So if you show your face, that adds a whole personal spin to your business. And I think people will fall in love with you. And as they fall in love with you, then they'll want to support you by shopping your closet. So I think that when you have your face in front of the camera, though it might be uncomfortable sometimes, you know, flipping the camera around to be on selfie mode, or asking a friend or a significant other to snap a photo of you. My husband and I call it, he's like my photographer, and I'm like, hey, this is a good moment. Can you get some content for me? That's kind of our thing. So we're like, good content moment, and I'll pause and like do a quick thing. But I think for me, like I try to store up a ton of photos. So over time, I don't like post them, but I like to have the option. So if there's a day that like is rainy or gloomy, I have some images at my disposal that I know will work on any day. And so, yeah, I would just say it personalizes your brand. It helps people get to know you. And I just think that it helps people see that there's more to your business than just selling clothes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. That one-to-one connection it builds is really strong. Coco, do you have any tips for anyone that may be nervous to share a personal or like a glimpse of their personal lives, anything like that?
I think I love what Hannah said, and I totally agree. In the beginning, I didn't show my face either. It is very nerve-wracking, and if you're not used to taking pictures of yourself, it's a huge leap. So I always recommend to do that, show your face if you want to be the face of your brand, but start off with something a little different. Like I love showing my posh space, like my little studio, and even if it's not a studio, even if it's just like a portion of your closet, something that's personal to you. Hannah and I were talking before this about like the dangers of just showing package pics and how people can think you're like a delivery service and like not even know what you do. So I think it's really important to show like your personality, kind of what differentiates yourself, and nothing will, like Hannah said, nothing will like do it like your face will, but your space is great. If you got like a really cute haul that's really personal to you, like if you are really into like a minimalist wardrobe or like a boho wardrobe, kind of showing those pieces first and then slowly building up to yourself, because that's a big leap.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree. Like there's different facets of your personality that can definitely be another content opportunity. It doesn't have to be your face on the screen the whole time, just whatever works for you. That's a really great point. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about creating content, but not just content, but like creating content with value. So Hannah, would love to know what you take into consideration when creating content for your Instagram.
Yeah, so in terms of my feed, I have like a handful of different types of photos that I try to rotate out. So I'm not really good about having like a schedule like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I will post. But what I try to do is when I post, see what have I not posted in a while. So I will rotate out package pictures. I don't want it just to be package pictures. And I think that can be a trap, like Coco said, to just do that. And then people are like, is that all you do? Like, is that what reselling looks like? There's so much more to it. So mixing up package pictures with behind the scenes, and then also just pictures of like me modeling the clothes or a highlight of my clothing rack that's behind me, just doing whatever I can. So that's the first thing that I do is see, okay, what have I not posted in a while? What should I post? And then the second thing is, does this feel like me? So whatever I'm going to post, is it true to my brand, or am I doing it just because I feel like everyone else is doing it? So I try to do a little check before I even post, or and this is something Coco and I were sharing with each other when we met earlier to walk through all this, is just being true to you and making sure that what you're posting, and also paying attention to the caption, because the photo is important. That's what gets people's like first reaction. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, now I want to read this, because that's what they're seeing first. But keeping them engaged in the caption and making sure that it sounds like you, not someone else. So you don't want to go to someone else's page and copy what they have and paste it into your thing, because then again, you want to be you. Like, you want your brand to sound like you, and you want people, when they see that, to recognize, without even seeing your Instagram handle, that's Hannah, or that's Coco, or that's Caitlin. Like, you want them to recognize your brand without even having to see your logo or your name.
Yeah, absolutely. What you said about captions is really interesting. Something I've noticed over the past couple of years is like there was this period of time on Instagram when everyone used like a pun. Like you had to have a one-liner, it had to be really catchy, quippy, whatever. But now we're moving into this phase of like, we want to be storytellers. Like that's prime real estate on your Instagram page. You want to use the caption to the fullest extent it can possibly be. So really great point about captions there. Speaking of that, Coco, I really love your captions and how you keep it so real, and would love to know just generally, how do you approach your content on Instagram as well?
Yeah, so I love what you just said, Caitlin, about like the puns and the stories. And I think there's room for both. Like, I think some sellers are just naturally like really funny and they should
Yeah,
really dive deep into that. I'm a storyteller. Like, I love telling heartfelt stories. That's just who I am in person. So I try to approach it the same way. Hannah and I were talking about my friend Regina. Basic Posh Babe is her handle. She does like voice memos, and for captions, she takes out a lot of the likes because she's one of those people that says like another word, but she keeps them in, and then it sounds like her. And I think it's really important to do that, to approach it in a way that feels really organic to you. So what I do for my content is, as far as the images, I approach it similarly to Hannah in the sense that I think about the images and then I think about the caption. So for the images, I try to go between showing my face and then showing my business and go back and forth, because if not, I get really bad at showing my face. It's a way of kind of like forcing myself to like show up, like actually show up. And then as far as captions, in the beginning, I took a lot of polls in my stories to see what people were dealing with. If I learned something new, I would use that kind of content to write captions. And now I go to my DMs. So if someone tells me like they're really struggling with this part, or like how do you approach, I'm a mom, I have a toddler, so a lot of the content is like, how do you balance your time? How do you balance all this stuff? So a lot of my stories is like an example of a time when things went awry and then how I solved it. And then I'll finish it off with like a question, because I want to keep the engagement going and I want to keep the conversation going in the comments.
Yeah, love that. Awesome. All right, let's move in to talk a little bit about features. So one can just say, like, just make an Instagram and start, but there's all these different elements of Instagram. There's no shortage of features. There's feed posts, stories, IGTV, Reels has been added to the mix. So Hannah, what feature on Instagram do you think is most impactful for growing your following and your brand?
Yeah, like I was saying, when I started out, I wasn't using Insta stories, but as I've kind of evolved on my Instagram, I have found that stories are my preferred feature for growing my brand, communicating with my audience in a more authentic way, because I think the news feed, just like your own post can kind of be posed. And so what's nice about Insta stories is I can connect authentically with my audience. But then also it can build the brand and build my business by being able to direct people directly to my Poshmark closet to shop. So it can be both me kind of bringing people along in my personal life, and then also the business behind the scenes. But then also if there's new releases in my closet, sharing like, hey, here's some new items, and then here and go and shop. But here's the thing, I don't have 10,000 followers on Instagram, so I don't have the ability to have the swipe up feature. So I wanted to give a little tip for the people who are attending and don't have 10,000 followers, because I think sometimes when you don't have that kind of momentum, like someone who has that many followers, you might just kind of give up and be like, well, there's no way for me to really have people shop my closet unless I tell them link in bio. That's kind of like the old school way, right? But I found a hack, and the hack is to make an IGTV, because you can link an IGTV to any Insta story. So what I did is I made a photo that said shop my closet, turned it into an IGTV, which you just go into an iMovie or any other kind of video app on your phone, and you just extend the image to be over a minute long, upload that to your Instagram as an IGTV, save it, and then you're able to basically just link that IGTV to your post. So when they link up, when they swipe up, they can press the link to your Poshmark closet, not have to go to your profile, not have to press your link. Like I have a link tree. So when I think about when I say link in bio, they first have to press my username, go to my bio, press my link tree, press shop my closet, then go to my closet. And I'm like, I don't want
A lot of clicks.
Right, exactly. So it's like, I'm like just waiting for the day till I'm at 10,000. So I don't even have to have, the IGTV. But I think for me, it's been a huge resource because I'm able to see the analytics on who's actually swiping up on those IGTV links. And it's significant. Like it's really helped improve my business. And I hope that helps other people who are watching today. If you don't have 10,000 followers, there you go. And if you have additional questions, because I did that fast, feel free to reach out on Instagram and I can help.
That is a really awesome hack. I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And Coco, you as well, you're super active on Instagram stories. How do you think about approaching your stories content?
I try to do a little mix of personal and professional. Like Hannah said earlier, I think people really want that like authentic experience when shopping. Like they'd much rather buy something from someone that they know, like Hannah, rather than Amazon, who's like this huge corporation, right? So I mix in little elements of my day. And I think that's a really cute way of people remembering you. Like I'm huge into smoothies. So every time someone's drinking a smoothie, they're like, we'll take a picture and send it to me. I think it's a really sweet way to connect. And then I also do a lot of behind the scenes of when I'm outsourcing, so to get people excited. So when I say that there's new things, they'll be like, oh, I really like that like vintage sweater that she sourced yesterday. I wonder if that's going to be in it. So a lot of like teasers. And then I love questions, polls. I do a weekly Q&A. I love DMs is really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So all of those things really promote people writing into you and talking with you and engaging with you in a more close way than happens in the comment section.
Absolutely. That's awesome. I want to make sure we have time for questions. So audience, if you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A below. We're happy to answer. So let's talk about Reels. So Reels is a new feature that made its debut on Instagram last month. It is very much a short form video type of content. And we know that Instagram is really heavily prioritizing this content right now. It's in the Explore tab. Wait, yes. Your Discover page, like everywhere. It's popping up in your feed. So who here in the audience has created a reel on Instagram? We're going to do a quick poll. I see the poll popped up. And it says I can't vote. All right, how do we see this? Maybe we can. I'll take your word for it, guys. Okay, so we'll get into talking about it a little bit more. So let's see. Dun, dun, dun. The poll is in the way. Coco, I know you posted a reel featuring your cute little one with her Posh packages. What was your initial reaction to the feature? Do you plan on creating more Reels content in the future?
Right. So I never had a TikTok. Like I really didn't use TikTok because I didn't come from that background. So it's definitely like a new thing for me. I have to like flex this new muscle and learn more about it. Like any new feature, like none of it was intuitive to me. Like Instagram was not intuitive. Stories, posts, like all of it was something that I had to kind of get used to. I liked it enough and I probably will end up using it. I do know, however, like said Caitlin, they really are pushing it. So if you are gutsy or you've used TikTok in the past and you're used to it, like I think that's a great way to grow your brand right now. I definitely think it should be something that you try if you haven't yet. I see that 79% of you haven't yet.
Yes.
I would push you guys to just try it. That's what I did. I just tried it. And it doesn't have to be like it doesn't have to be what you're seeing everyone else do. It can be something like Caitlin mentioned. Mine was just my baby throughout like her life delivering the packages to the porch, and that's very on brand for me. Yeah. So maybe the first one, keep it in your comfort zone, do something super on brand, maybe use stuff that you've already had in the past. I'll definitely be using it more. Definitely not comfortable with it yet though.
Yeah, test it out. Absolutely. And then Hannah, I saw you post your first reel the other day. Loved it. I love that it was educational content, very easy to digest, which I think Reels is really great for. How do you, when a new feature comes out, how do you approach it? How do you determine if it's going to benefit your business and if you're going to put your time and effort into it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that Instagram has a lot of different tools and resources to use, and you can try them all. And I actually recommend that, like Coco is saying, do something that's comfortable first and try it. And if it doesn't work and you don't like it or it's not worth your time, then abandon it and stick with your guns. Like stick with what works the best for you. I think it's better to be consistent than not at all. So if you feel more comfortable posting on your feed, do that. Or if you feel comfortable being in Insta stories, do that. But I think what's really important, especially for the Instagram algorithm, because there is one, to being consistent and showing up as often as you can. Because when you do that, then your followers are going to be able to still see your post. They're not going to be at the bottom of a feed when people are scrolling. And so for me, what I do is I just I try it out. If it works and I love it, I stick to it. If I don't, then, I'll get around to it when I'm comfortable with it again or whatever else. But usually I just stick with what's comfortable because I want to be consistent. I'm also part-time, so I have to be mindful of where I'm spending my time. So doing what works best for me is what's kind of what I stick to.
Awesome. Yes, consistency is key. That's a great piece of advice.
Mm-hmm.
So before we move to questions, I want to thank you both, Hannah and Coco, for being here today and sharing your Instagram wisdom. And I do love a shameless plug, so I'm going to hand it over to you ladies. If you want to tell the audience where to follow you, anything exciting you're working on, the floor is yours.
Coco, you go first.
Yeah, so you can find me at Color Resale. That's going to be where you can find me best. And I'm working on a newsletter, so definitely follow along with my stories. I'll be sharing more. I'm so excited. I love collecting resources and giving away free information. So that's definitely going to be where I do it, is through this new weekly newsletter. So stay tuned.
Awesome. And Hannah?
And I am Handpicked by Han on Instagram and Poshmark. And something that I'm working on is a website. So something that I like to write. So I would love to do blog posts. I would love to do more information or whatever else. And so working on that, not there yet, but more to come.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies.
Also I'm having a BOGO free sale on my Poshmark. So that's a little shameless plug if you want to go to my Poshmark and shop.
We love a shameless plug here. Awesome. Thank you, ladies, so much. All right. So I see quite a few questions in the chat. So let's pop in. All right. Let's see. So we have one question from Gladys. So it's a big open question, but let's bite this one off. So how do you create your Instagram brand? How are you staying consistent? We can start with maybe any tools for consistency. I know we talked a little bit about content balance.
Yeah, I'll go first. So I think that having a preset or a filter that's your go-to. So I think creating a very consistent color scheme in your closet. I will admit I'm not always the best at it because I got to work with what I have being part-time. But I think what's really easy is if you're able to purchase a preset or use something there's a lot of different, editing apps, being consistent by using the same preset or something of the like for all of your posts. That way, when when they look at your picture, they're able to tell that's Hannah or that's, handpicked by Han, and be able to distinguish that. So I would say to build your brand, be consistent in posting, but then also posting like pictures that look similar to each other.
All right. And then we have a question from Alexa. How much time do you spend maintaining your Instagram per day? She finds it time consuming, so she's had to set some healthy boundaries for herself with it.
That's a great question. I find that I have these, I use mainly stories, and I'm active there a ton. So I do what Hannah does in the sense that I take a lot of pictures in the moment when the moment's right and things look good, so that I'm not always having to worry about taking pictures. And then I have things that I go to every single day. So I greet people with a picture of a flower, and I say good morning beautiful every single morning, so I don't have to think about okay, I'm waking up, what am I gonna do today? Or I know every day, right now I'm away from studio, but every day I show a little video or a picture of my studio. And then I have 4 or 5 pieces that I go to every day. And it's just no-brainers. I think a lot of the time is spent thinking of what you're going to produce. So if you take that element away, then it's comforting for your audience because they know what to expect, and it's nice for you because it's a total time saver.
Awesome.
Such good advice.
Awesome. And then we have a question from Ashley Gibson. What is your hashtag strategy?
I have hashtags in my notes on my phone. So I'm in marketing full time for a healthcare company, and something that I've learned just through that job and then also just other marketing conferences is to include your hashtags in your captions. So your photo is going to, or your post is going to perform better if you put the hashtags in your post, not in a comment. And I do it sometimes where it's in the comment if I forgot. But I have the same hashtags that I use pretty much for every post. It might vary. So if I'm having a sale, I'll probably add some sale hashtags. But there's a lot that a lot of resellers follow. So people follow hashtags. And so it's helpful with hashtags is when you follow them. And it sounds like Coco was doing the same when she started out too with like Meet the Poshers. If you press that hashtag, you can see all of the posts that have that hashtag. So it's helpful to find hashtags that have high quantity of followings to them.
Great tip. I have a little tip to add. So a lot of hashtag generators out there generally pull maybe the top performing hashtags based around that certain theme. But what I found personal success with is, yes, choose hashtags that are relevant, but don't always choose the one that has the most amount of posts under it. So don't maybe focus your hashtags on like, what's a really popular one, like Instagood, Insta Daily. Like you want to choose maybe the little middle tier ones that don't have as many posts populated under them, so you have a higher chance of showing up on that top of the hashtag page. That is my little tip that I learned from Molly, actually. She's actually, yeah. All right, so I think we have time for a couple more questions. Let's see. Ooh, Coco, I'm going to direct this one at you. Brianna has asked, what makes a good eye-catching Instagram bio?
Ooh, okay. So I'm like obsessed with bios. I think a couple things. I have this like little formula, which is like the first line, have it be something that's eye-catching, something that kind of draws people in. Like I wrote like, hey beautiful, I like you already. And that's something that you're like, okay, at least I know she'll be nice. Like at least I know I can talk to her. They're more likely to send DMs. And then kind of your mission statement, something that you're doing. And then a statement of authority. So if you've been selling for a while, write that, like selling on Poshmark for 5 years or something like that, or since whatever year. Or if you've sold a certain amount, or like what makes you an authority. And then where you live. I find that that's really helpful too. For the longest time, I didn't write that I lived in Portland. And as soon as I added it in there, I got so many DMs being like, I live in Portland too, that's so fun. Or like, I've always wanted to go to Portland. It's a good conversation starter. It's good to remember that everyone, like, we're all people, right? Like, even though you're doing it for business, you do want to have this like human connection with people. I think that's the really important piece. So keeping that in your bio and not just be like a bot of being like, come shop my closet. This is the thing, like come by. No one's going to like that.
That's a really great formula. I love that. All right. We have time for one more question. Let's see. All right, so Lydia is asking, how many posts generally do you aim for each week? Or do you have like a minimum? Is there a soft spot? Do you have a cadence? What does that look like for you guys?
I probably post 3 times a week. My minimum would be 2, but 3 honestly is my sweet spot just because I'm doing this part-time. So that's kind of my sweet spot, is doing 3, sometimes more, but that would be a good week.
Yeah, I would say my answer is very similar. In the beginning, when I wasn't using stories as much, I really like 3 was my comfort, and 5 was like a great week. I was like, oh my goodness. But now I use stories so much more, and I want to make sure that I'm not just posting for posting's sake anymore. Like I will never, I don't want to do that again. So I will never be like, you know, like, I don't know, one-liner, because that's not me, right? So like the cute one-liner with like the cute picture just for posting is not going to be on brand for me anymore. So I'd rather not have a post. And I'd rather actually go a week without having a post and just be really engaged on my stories. I think what Hannah was saying is really important. Be consistent in your strengths, and my strength is definitely stories. So I'm there every single day. There's not a day that I miss stories unless something happens.
Awesome. That's a good piece of advice to end on. We are out of time. So thank you everyone for joining today. A reminder to continue having these conversations on social media, connect with us, use hashtag PoshFest 2020 in your posts, and enjoy your next breakout session. So thank you everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.